Out here on a nice cold January day right after New Year's, finally getting around to trying to install Junior's heater on his car. Got my little flow restrictor, got heater hose, got hose clamps. We're going to start by just hooking up the heater hose to the heater core. Hope and pray it doesn't leak. We don't know. The heater core, the tubing on the radiator, or when we got this car, was routed from the intake to the water pump with a piece of hose. We took that off during the summer and just capped them off. But now we're going to try hooking it up. We don't know if the heater core is already blown and that's why they bypassed it, or they just bypassed it because they didn't want to use the heater. But I'm going to try to put heater hose on it, pressurize the system, and see if it leaks or not. So I was just called and told that my plans have changed. I now need to go pick up Junior earlier than expected, as after school plans were canceled. So I had to skip ahead a little bit. I installed the flow restrictor and the hose, hooked up these two hoses. I've got the top one hooked up. I didn't really have a lot of time to continuously measure and cut the length, but I ran into a slight problem of this hose will only approach this water pump at one particular angle because of this alternator. I can't really find any way around that, and I have no idea how I'm going to get that to go on there. Good times. You can see that the hose is pointed up at like a 45-degree vertical angle, and the hose comes down from a 0-degree angle from the top. Good times. So I'm not sure if this is the alternator bracket for this car exactly. The best way I found to run the heater hose to the water pump is through the cutout hole in the bottom of the alternator. It's the only way I could do it without kinking and bending it. But now both hoses are installed on both ends. And now we'll fire it up and we'll see if it leaks. I gotta say though, I'm not overly confident. This part of the heater core where the hoses connect was pretty flimsy when I was putting the hose clamps on. I'm not really confident that it's not blown out. Let's see. No leaks at the water pump yet. No leaks at the firewall yet. Let's go check inside the car. Nothing wet inside the car yet. Doesn't mean it's not leaking somewhere. I've got the heat on, but now all of a sudden, now that the heater core is hooked up, the fan doesn't appear to be blowing on the heater setting. It used to blow in every setting. The defrost is blowing. You switch it to air, it blows outside vent air, cold. When I hit it to heat, nothing is happening. I used to blow on all these settings before. Not sure what's up with that, but we'll give it a couple of minutes. It's ice cold outside, so let the engine warm up and we'll see if we ever get any heat. I guess the most important thing is the defrost. That's all I really care about. The defrost will warm up the windows and keep us from fogging up. We'll be okay, and the rest we'll deal with. Well, the defrost blower motor is barely blowing, but it is definitely blowing warm. It is definitely warming up just a little bit. It's been a couple of minutes. Not too long though. The car's still actively upping its idle, but this is definitely blowing warmer than if I do this, which is blowing outside air, even though it's set to warm. I thought this would just be regular heater, but when I switch it to heat, nothing is coming here, which I'm confused by. I thought that was all the same blower motor. The defroster turns off. This does nothing. But I switch it back to defrost, it is blowing warm. So we'll give it a few minutes, let it heat all the way up, and see what happens. Well, both hoses under the engine bay are very warm. They're clearly flowing warm fluid. I can feel it. It's not just engine heat. They're not actually touching anything. The hood's been open this whole time. They're clearly being internally heated. So there is definitely fluid flowing. No leaks anywhere. Everything is dry inside, but now it's blowing pretty much outside temperature inside. Initially I thought the defroster was blowing warmer, but it's not. That's just blowing straight outside air. The warm and the cool feel exactly the same, except the cool is blowing a lot harder. When I switch to warm, it slows down. You can hear the trap door open. I think the heater core swap is working where it switches to heat, but it's just blowing outside temperature now. If I switch this to the heater, it stops blowing completely. It's doing absolutely nothing. It's not warm, it's not cold. The defrost turns off, everything turns off. I'm not sure what's going on with it. You can hear it blowing in the dash, but it's not coming out anywhere. I'm not really sure what's going on. But the defrost, which does blow, you want to set to hot. Now it's blowing full speed, set to warm, but it's blowing cold. It has been quite a while now. In fact, I'll have to go get the boy here soon. It's been idling so long that there's actually engine temperature in this thing, which there hasn't been this time of year at all. It's been staying at the sea, and still no change. This is blowing outside air. I've revved it up. I've tried to change all of this 100 times. Yeah, it's the same temperature no matter what I do, so I'm not sure what's going on. The heater core doesn't appear to be leaking. Still no signs of any fluid anywhere. Please pardon the mess. We have not detailed the car or anything. Don't plan to until we've done some more work on it, but I can't find any signs of leaking anywhere. Tried revving it up. Still no leaks, but also still no temperature change. Alright, it's been a while. It's time to go get the boy. No change. Oh, you know what? It actually feels a little bit warmer. It's been a few more minutes. The car's been running steadily this whole time. We got a little more engine temperature. It feels ever so slightly warmer, but it could be just because the windshield's been exposed to the sun now for a few minutes, but we'll see. We're used to being cold. The whole reason I'm doing this is because this weekend it's supposed to be very un-Texas-like. It's supposed to be in the low teens, well below freezing for an extended period of time over several days. The car's got antifreeze and everything, but as long as there's no ice, I like to drive it. And if there's no ice, you know, I wanted to drive it, but my fear is that without defrost, the windows will fog up and we'll be in a world of hurt when we're out driving around. We'll see. Well, I don't know if it's because we're finally moving and the thermostat finally opened or what, but we definitely have warm air coming from inside the dash. It's not hot, but hopefully it's warm enough to defrost the windshield should it fog up. Appears to be something. It's definitely warmer than the inside of the rest of the car. It's definitely not outside air, because as you can tell, I am cold outside. So it's not doing too bad in here right now, so that's something. Waiting on the boy to get here. I think some of our problem is going to be airflow. I'm thinking some of this ducting is cracked and dry rotted, and the airflow may be just blowing into the dash. Because as you can see, our dash is pretty cracked up and cracked out. You know, it's not great. I was reaching in the passenger side defrost vent a minute ago to feel up in there, and pieces were falling out onto the floor. So yeah, that could be part of it. We could just be blowing a lot of our air into the middle of our dashboard without meaning to. Good times. Look who's here finally. Hey boy, feel up there. The defrost vent.
Oh, my bad.
we have defrost. I hooked up the heater hoses a few minutes ago. No, we do not have heat. If you switch it to heat, it just quits blowing completely. I think part of our problem is that the vents, if you reach up in that defrost vent, some pieces, you might feel some pieces moving around, and some pieces were crumbling. I think some of our vents are dry rotted out, so I think our heater's just blowing in the middle of the dashboard. But if I do that, it's outside vent air, but if I do this, we have warm. So we may freeze to death, but our windshield should be defrosted. Good times, right? All right, update. The defrost, the heater, whatever is working really well. We're actually getting a little warm in here, which is weird. It's supposed to be freezing, but it's actually getting a little toasty and snug in here, and we might actually turn it off. It's now that we've got a little heat cycle in it, the temperature's up to the first bar before the N on normal. We've actually got a little heat in it, and it's actually almost uncomfortable in here, but I think we actually have to turn on the outside vent for a minute. So, progress. After a lot more experimentation, the heater is definitely working. We went from comfortable with the outside vent on for a couple minutes, back to hot again. We've definitely got good defrost. That's a good thing. So the other thing I was going to do in this video is change out the door locks and the trunk lock, because someone in this car, we're not naming names, someone here lost the door and trunk key. Not naming names, I'm not sure who that was, you know, no reason to out anybody publicly. There's no need for that. But anyway, we can't lock up the car or get in the hatch unless I have him crawl in the back. We were supposed to do that. The keys were supposed to be here, the new door locks and all that. Now I'm just getting emails saying that they're out of stock and they don't know when they're going to ship, so I may be getting a refund and ordering them from somewhere more expensive. But for now, I'm not sure when this video will come out, but probably not till after we get the door locks, after it's warm again. But we're going to go back to working on white trash now, especially since we're going to get frozen and iced in this weekend. We're going to stay in our nice warm garage, you know, enjoy the 30-degree garage instead of the 10-degree outdoors. So, bye for now. Now that it's really cold in Texas, don't laugh, Northerners. It has been down to 12 degrees and icy. Anyway, now that it's been cold in Texas, I've been trying to get the car to run in the cold weather, and the choke hasn't been working. Oh, good grief. I took off the air cleaner to see what was going on and why the car wasn't choking. The choke rod and the mount are completely gone. And I went down to O'Reilly's to look at the carburetor, or look at a new version of this carburetor. That's where I got this carburetor, and they had one in stock, and they let me look at it, and yeah, I don't know how, but this popped off. I even went back and checked my last video, and the last time we took the carburetor off the car and put it back on, that was definitely there. I don't know where that went or how it popped off. I was hoping it was just the rod popped off, but it's not just the rod. It's the bracket too, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. I could replace the rod. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that bracket though. Guess I'm going to take the carburetor off and look and hope it's inside. I haven't seen it anywhere around the engine. Haven't seen it on the ground. I don't have any reason to suspect that it's inside the engine. I just don't know where it is. Super weird. I mean, it could be stuck down in the carburetor somewhere, but I haven't seen it. The world has a really funny way of working out. I opened up my Edelbrock carburetor box to look for parts, see if I had an extra choke rod in there, and I found Junior's missing door key. About a month ago, I went and cleaned out the car, and apparently I dropped the door key in the carburetor box, then threw the carburetor box here in the garage. And yeah, apparently it's been here ever since. So yay, except that I've already ordered the new key and lock set, so I guess I'll have a spare. Oh well. On to the carburetor. Well, some good news for once. So I pulled the carburetor off, and somehow, by some way, some miracle, the choke rod bracket was wedged down there in the secondaries, which might explain why the secondaries suck so bad. This thing has been horrible here lately. Got to see if I figure out how to reattach that. And there's the rod. I didn't even notice the rod was just hanging loose. The rod was hanging down there in the secondaries also. So maybe I can get this thing fixed. I gotta figure out some way to attach this thing and make sure it doesn't ever pop off again. So maybe it was never attached really solidly. I clipped it back in, it popped into place, and it's pretty strong and pretty firm. You can tug on it, it doesn't move at all. Everything's attached pretty well. I'm not sure what happened there. Let's see. You can see it working now. So I'm gonna hook it back up, put it back on the car, and see what happens. You can see that it is definitely working now. If you kick open if you put on the fast idle cam, it goes into full choke mode, and then you come back off, and it's open to slide them out. So I'm going to fire it up and make sure it works properly under load. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes with just the key on and make sure the electronics are properly heating up and see how it behaves. The element is definitely heating up, so that part's working. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up and see if it'll start with the choke plate connected. It'll take a minute because I empty out the carburetor. Or not at all. Great. Come on. Did not start on the fast idle cam and is about to stall out. Let's see. Just turn it off. See if I can set the fast idle cam. Huh. Didn't seem to take. Let's go see what's wrong. Not sure why that didn't set by itself. Alright, made some adjustments. Let's see if it'll start on the fast idle cam on its own. Not liking that. Made some more adjustments. Let's see if it'll start. Come on, baby. Still not starting on the fast idle camera. I'm gonna go drive it, see if that solved our issue with the secondaries and stuff. I know at least one viewer who'll be happy to know that I reconnected the vacuum advance on the distributor. I think I've got that worked out. I did that off camera here a while back. I think I've got the timing and the base timing and the mechanical vacuum playing nicely together now, so let's go see. Still not running well. Things still are not
on the side of the road to mess with the accelerator pump and found that the bracket popped back off the plate. I don't know why, it felt perfectly strong. I'm guessing it was that backfire I experienced a minute ago when it wasn't running correctly. But I don't know. I'm not sure how to get it to stay on there anymore solidly without welding it or something. Let's see what I can do to get me home. Well, I took the bracket off. Didn't have a choice. I can't get it reattached here without taking the carburetor off. The rod's just gonna have to hang, and I'm just gonna have to see if I can get it to run home. Not sure what was going on there, but it took forever to start. I'm guessing just that the choke plate limp and sitting open is too much. I could not get it to start. Now that it's running, it seems to be running all right. Good off-throttle response. Oh, big bog, big bog. God dang it. Runs strong once it gets going, but it's still got that horrible off-idle bog. Tried the accelerator pump on all 3 settings. I don't know if it's a lean stumble or if it's a rich bog or what's going on, but man, once it gets going, right off initial throttle, it runs really well. If you feather into the throttle, it does okay. But if you're just going and you stop it, it's got a pretty big delay before it kicks in. Then it's running really well afterwards. Terrible. Right off idle feels like trash. I have that little bracket popped back in there. It seems to hold really well, but just to be sure, we're put a little touch of Gorilla Glue on there, a little super glue. Yes, I'm dead serious. I'm aware that's not how you fix this, but that is how we're fixing this today. Just do what I do. Just embrace the suck and prepare for it. So I'm going to give that a little while to dry, and hopefully it'll hold. There were signs on the bottom of the throttle blade and on the bottom of the bracket of backfiring, which, I mean, we heard on video just a minute ago. It's backfiring something fierce at times. I'm not sure why. Good times. But pretty sure that's what's knocking it loose. Well, the good news is, now that the choke plate is hooked up and functioning, it's at least starting. That was great. It started almost instantly, whereas on the side of the road with the choke plate stuck open, it wouldn't start at all. So I'm going to check the timing again and see what I can figure out what's wrong with this thing. Alright, checked things under the hood, checked on the carburetor, checked the vacuum advance and everything. I gave it a couple more degrees of timing because I forgot that I backed off the timing the other day messing with it. So far, so good. The lean setting on the accelerator pump, a little more timing, the vacuum advance hooked up, and the throttle plate in theory, or the choke plate in theory, doing its job properly, not just hanging open, is making it run a lot better. Let's see. Did a first, second, third gear pull, got up to highway speed or cruising speed. Now I'm going to drop her into third gear, do a 0 throttle to wide open throttle pull. Oh, hello. Ooh, that's how I want the baby running. That's what I needed. Oh my God, this is this close to being a victory. This thing has not been running well here lately. Man, it's finally pulling the way I want. I think I've finally got it dialed in properly. A little hesitation fifth gear cruising, I try to accelerate, and it's below 2,000, 2,200. It's stumbling really, really badly. It just does not like to do that. That could be the cam and the intake, you know, but as long as I've got it over 2,200, it pulls really hard in every gear. But it's gotten better. This is better than it's been the last couple of weeks. It's been pretty rough the last couple of weeks. Hey, we just did a full test drive with no backfiring or anything. Hopefully the choke bracket thing is on the choke blade. Alright, so I'm back home. It's running pretty well. I'm guessing these problems I've been having these last couple of weeks were that choke plate the whole time. One last thing to do, turn it off, see if it'll restart in a reasonable amount of time, and let's see. Fired right back up instantly. Rock solid idle. It's doing great. I'm going to go ahead and assume that choke plate and bracket are still there, and no reason to check it that I can think of. I'm sure it's there, and I'm just going to carry on doing other things. Alright, it's been 2 hours. Let's see if it'll start up. Alright, good deal. Here finally. Hey buddy, so did some more work on the car today, and I found that our choke, the reason it wasn't starting and idling and everything in the cold was the bracket that holds the choke cable that holds the choke open in the cold broke off, but I fixed it. And I changed the timing and hooked up the vacuum, and guess how it's running, buddy? Better than ever. How'd you know? But this time I mean it, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove it. Check it out, boy. Third gear throttle response. See? It's actually running decently. Crazy, huh? It doesn't do that, I know. It's doing it again. Fifth gear throttle response. Look, no surging and bucking, and check it out, it just pulls. Running what? How's it running?
Better than ever.
Better than ever. See, it's actually running better than ever. All right. Well, that's all we've got. There's no door key or trunk key install or latch install because I found the key, which someone lost. You know, we don't know who lost it. You know, we're not naming names publicly and outing people. But, so that's it. That's all we've got. We don't have to replace all the keys, so.